Hey people, what's going on? It's Tuesday, October 10th, 27th. If you're in Omaha and you see this in time, the premiere of Life After X is at Exarban Cinema tonight at 7. Is it 7? Make sure. Yep. Tickets are $10 a piece. I'll be there. Come on out. I got a review for you. Michael P. Dawson is a musician who sent me his last album regarding insects, and I liked it. And he sent his latest, which is, it's interesting, Michael, your approach. I know you seem to really be into, is the right word anthropology? But this is, he sent me a CD. He says it's coming out on vinyl, but he couldn't wait, and said he sent me a CD of his new release called Paleozoic, a fossil record. Huh. Love it. Love the graphics. I'm going to play a little bit of it for you in a second. Michael plays all the instruments on here, primarily concert and bass flute, soprano and tenor saxophones, bass clarinet, Moog synthesizers, guitar, lap steel, glockenspiel, and virtual instruments. I'm glad he said virtual instruments because it has a bit of a synclavier feel at times, kind of like Frank Zappa's Jazz from Hell, which I personally like. But it starts off great, and let me just play. I think I can play this for you. I like the way this starts. It makes me think a bit of King Crimson once the lick starts to come in. This is good. This is good. This is just exactly what I'm interested in. It's imaginative. It's very evocative of imagery. So let me go ahead and turn this down and keep talking because, again, I don't know that even though I know the artist, and I can assume that I have the artist's permission to play this to help expose it and promote it. I'll turn it down now. But all of the titles here are related to the term Paleozoic. And I've listened to this all the way through now a couple times, and I find the music to be very descriptive. The titles are appropriate, and when you put the two together, it does create a mental picture while the music plays that fits this scenario. So Michael Dawson, I think this is a great step forward from the Insect Garden. I do like that album. The other thing I can say is happily I'll be playing track number 2 off of this on my radio show on Thursday, Roots of Electric Jazz. Herrings and Ingrids fits my format. So I'm happy to say that I'll be sharing this on the airwaves Thursday, 2 to 4. I'll leave the link because it streams online and you can listen online if you don't live in Omaha. Thanks for sharing that with me very much. Very, very much. Lots going on. Okay, so let me just keep going. I've got a lot on my plate this week and today. The movie premiere is tonight. I'll be there with my disc. Let me just get it here. So I did the soundtrack for Life After X, and so I'll have these for sale at the movie premiere tonight and tomorrow. So get one. I only pressed up 100 of these. If you're at all interested, don't wait. Get one before they're gone. Absolutely. Something else that happened regarding music. I'm going to move this because it's again. It seems to affect the color. The washout on the. But anyway. So something else that happened a couple days ago here in Omaha, which was pretty cool, is I mentioned this place called the Hi-Fi House happening in Omaha. If you're curious for a really good description of it, because I'm not good at describing it because it's still nebulous, it's a listening room that endeavors to be an educational and library function. It's already doing those things, but it's just a cool place where things are, it's public now, and I'm a part of it. I actually worked my first day there recently. But Sunday, the guys who started the label Numeral, some of you record junkies know what I'm talking about. They do the repackaging with impeccable. I mean, they really focus a lot on obscure soul, obscure psych, just obscure records that were forgotten or out of print. Well, they did a pop-up store at Hi-Fi House Sunday here in Omaha, and I got to meet the guys. I want to tell you up front that before I met them, I had mixed feelings about the label Numeral because I thought to myself, are these guys who are making a profit off of dead people's music who never saw a penny? Well, what's new, Really, what I found out is that these guys are complete music lovers and music nerds like me, really into music, especially uncovering stuff that's not been heard of before. Okay, so I went and hung out and stayed a long time because I really enjoyed, in particular, Ken. I really enjoyed meeting Ken and talking to him. Tim Guthrie came and dropped money and insisted on buying me something. So he bought me the Numeral reissue of this very collectible Chicago Afrocentric funk album, Bosco. For some reason, I always remember Big Star 1000's review of this. I'm not sure why, but I thought of him when I picked this up. This is originals of this go for big money. There's one on Discogs that starts at $500. Chicago musicians, no names on here. What's extraordinary about this album, or in my opinion, what made this album so collectible, is the raw Afrocentric message that goes along with the music. It's not just funk, it's ambient as well, and psychedelic and jazz. This is extraordinary. Bosco, really happy to have a copy now. I can tell you honestly that when it came out, because Chicago is just up the way from Omaha, when you look at the map, that original copies definitely made it to Omaha. And I saw it in the racks, but it's not what I was looking for at the time, so I didn't buy it. But I want to thank Tim Guthrie for letting me get a copy of this now. After meeting the guys and just talking to them about their methodology and how it's taken them as long as 10 years of research and tracking people down just to release one record. I forget which one that was in particular. It was quite a story. They won me over, I did tell them that, this is the kind of, I want to tell you guys that, I at first was looking at this label with a bit of disdain, thinking, well, this is the kind of label that I'll probably end up on after I'm dead, which completely caught Ken's interest. He said, oh, really? Well, what do you do? What do you play? And he immediately looked me up online, started listening to me right there in front of me. He was very honest. First listened to Norman and the Rockwells, made no impression. Went to my Dereck, my first Dereck EPs, and when he got to Dereck 2 and listened to that, he stopped and called his partner over and said, I think you might be interested in this. Stay tuned, people. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? Who knows? Maybe they'll release something by me before I die. You know. So that was cool. Some other things. We just kind of try to riff because people like to keep the videos long. So I'll respond to some things. You know. Someone thought it was worth mentioning that I did a video and all I talked about was music. You haven't been with me very long, have you? Because I'll say what's on my mind, and that to me was not a compliment. You know, I am no one's paying me. This is not a studio. This is not a setup. This is my home. This is my home studio, but we're not on some stage set. You know, I'm in my house. So I can talk about whatever I please. Okay. And I think that it is worth talking about things other than music. And if it makes some people uncomfortable, that's good. That's good. You know, think about why you're uncomfortable. Because it isn't me. I probably said something you need to think about. I mean that. Another record that I pulled that I hadn't played in a long time, which is really pretty cool. And it's collectible, too. I do like showing you my collectible records. Moo, Meryl Fankhauser. This is Children of the Rainbow. This album was recorded in the 70s, but not released until the 80s. It's a live recording, somewhere between sunshine pop, folk music, psychedelia, and something else altogether. It's very cool. Very cool, because it does not settle in one area, and that's what it's going to be the rest of the record. It keeps you guessing. What am I listening to? What is it? What are they doing now? Moo, Children of the Rainbow, Meryl Fankhauser. Some copies of this are actually signed by him, but this one isn't. I think there's only 500 of these. Not sure how I found it, but I knew about Meryl Fankhauser, so when I found it used, I knew I'd found something. That was years ago. Hadn't played this in a while. The music by Alain Goraguer, Le Planète Sauvage. That animated film that's just so wonderful. And the soundtrack, which is perfect for it. This is the Superior Viaduct reissue of it. I've never owned an original of it, but I do have a dub of the movie that I taped off of TV years ago, decades ago. Wonderful. And this is also an example of its soundtrack, but if you're interested in library music, this is the kind of music you'll encounter when buying library music. The Move, Roy Wood, the guy who started Electric Light Orchestra. Before that, he had this band, The Move. And this is their album, Looking On. And it has their quote-unquote hit Brontosaurus on it. This is so English, even though they're doing moves that are referring in reference to America. It's just so English and so cool. Stomping rock. I mean, they're not glam, but they have that big beat. And they were too mannish to be considered glam. But if glam is in your wheelhouse and you don't know this album, I bet you'll be surprised how good. You'll love it. You'll love this. Joan LaBarbera, a pioneer in extended vocal technique. People like Yoko Ono and Meredith Monk come to mind. Even some of the things that Björk does. This woman was way on top of that stuff. Way out ahead of those folks. She's still performing these days. This is a rare album of hers. Tape songs. Look at that cover. Isn't that amazing? And this is not for the faint of heart. This is excellent. And it explains in the blurbs in very academic terms what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing. Then you listen to it, how she's going for these microtones, singing elements that include pitched microtones to create beats in between certain sound waves. she does it. It's right here on the record. Amazing work. This is the kind of work that I love, where it shuts up dumbasses who can't fathom this sort of work. They say, oh, that just sounds like noise to me. Well, if you be quiet and learn something for a second, you might discover how deep this art is. I pulled these because I hadn't listened to these guys in a long time. Amazing, legendary, not legendary. That word keeps coming to mind because people keep calling. When I get introduced, I played solo this weekend. People keep calling me the legendary. Okay. I don't take it seriously, but I understand why people say it. It's a compliment. So it keeps popping up in my head when I'm thinking about good artists from Italy area. Arbeit macht free. Demetrio Stratos, long deceased, was like this woman, like Joan LaBarbera, had amazing vocal technique beyond just singing. He could yodel and do wild things with his voice. I believe this is their first album. The most collectible version of this has some kind of little insert, like some glasses or something that came with it. Mine doesn't have it, but I have the music. That's the most important thing. They swing freely from the completely out there improvisational avant-garde to jazz to funky progressive rock. Incredible band. And I played this one too by them, Caution Radiation Area. Highly recommend this music to true music lovers. Highly recommend this. Great players on this. What else was I playing recently? Pulling some stuff. I have all these records from FDH to go through, but what it's actually done is pushed me back to what it is I'm really into, because this stuff is interesting on the FDH label, but it's real punky, real garagey, and I only like so much of that. Haven't played this, but I pulled this to talk about online, which I did. This is Eugene Chadbourne, amazing guitarist, John Zorn, composer, saxophonist. This was John Zorn's first record, and I bought this from Eugene Chadbourne when I first saw him play with Shockabilly. And after the show, he and I and Kramer, the New York producer, hung out quite a bit, smoked some good weed. And Eugene and I vibed, and we talked about maybe collaborating. So when he signed it, he put his address right on the cover to make it easy for me to get a hold of him. I actually followed up on this a few years later, but when we started to talk, it got to a point when then it became apparent I can't afford his services. But the fact that he took me seriously meant a lot to me. So I haven't played this recently to familiarize myself, but I wanted to show it. This is very collectible. And I remember this now. This was Eugene's last copy. I bought it from him personally, and he said, "This is my last copy." I said, "Okay, it's mine." Sold. Last thing I want to say is about the current state of affairs, and you can go and you can turn me off now. See, you got your music. I waited till the end, so you can turn me off now. You don't have to hear me rail against the madness of the insanity and the total blind selfishness of people here in America, who continue to support this disaster of a immature, unqualified, rich baby that we have to deal with for a president. He does not represent the people. He's not a good person. He's not smart. Well, if he's smart, he's not wise. And we're dealing with the effects of it. They're disastrous. I have every right to bring this up. And also I think it's my duty to try and say, you folks that are still blindly supporting him because you got yours, you're being bad people. You're being selfish, and what you're doing is bad. It's bad for the planet and for everyone. We all have skin in this game, but something that really seems to not be being understood is that the message comes from the top. Even though everyone's got to do their part to make things better, the tone of the scenario is dictated by our leaders, and we're led by absolutely selfish, uncaring monsters. And to try to justify what they're doing is just horrendously destructive and wrong. I'm smiling because I hate their actions, but I love them. But I understand that they don't love me at all. So I'm gonna say this when I feel like it, because it's what's going on. I'm not making this up.